Yes. Good evening, everyone. Today's topic.
Yeah, good evening. Good evening.
Good evening. Excuse me. Good evening, everyone. Yesterday we stopped the class by understanding the various demand analysis, demand function, determinants of demands, factors which influence demand. Today's class, let's begin with exploring what is law of demand. Law of demand is nothing but simply a relationship between price and demand. Okay, price and demand. The relationship between, in economics, the relationship between price and demand is referred as law of demand. This usually is used to state that the higher the prices, lower is the demand, and vice versa. Uh, in this process of understanding, you may have doubts on certain items where even if the prices are higher, still the demand is going is not going to lower. Rather, it is going to remain same. Those all are the exceptions to demand. Okay, so here that is the reason why the important point to be noted is other things remaining constant. That means except two elements, price and demand, is taken to define the law of demand, to understand how demand reacts in a given market. Price and demand, only these two items. Remaining all other items, substitutes, complementaries, supply, logistics, all these we keep them all constant. Constant means they're not going to be changed. Okay, assuming this, we try to understand the relationship between price and demand. And it is said that when the prices are high for a given product, the demand is lower. And when the prices are lowered, the demand is high. So, according to the very famous economist, Professor Samuelson, the law of demand states that people will be buying more when the prices are low and less when the prices are high. uh, for this, all the other factors, determinants, all the other things which contribute to influence the demand should remain constant. Okay. And in the words of Marshall, he is an economist and he said that the amount demanded increases with fall in price. Excuse me. With any fall in the price, the amount of demand is increased and diminishes, that means lowers with a rise in price. When you increase the price of a given product, uh, the demand for that product also, when you are increasing price, the demand will lower. That means it will decline. This is in the words of Marshall. So let's see this with a demand schedule, which is given in the form of a table. This is prices per egg and quantity demanded. See, when the price of egg is rupees 5 per unit, the quantity demanded is 10. When it is 4, it is 15. When the price is rupees 3, it is demanded 20. When the price is rupees 2, it is 30. And when the price is rupee 1, it is rupees 70. So you can see there is in the price of egg from rupee 5 to 4 to 3 to 2 and to 1. When it is decreasing, when the prices are decreasing, you see the demand is increasing from rupees 10 to 15 to 20 to 30 and to 70 wise respectively. This shows that the law of demand, where the price, the relationship between price and demand When the prices are decreasing, the quantity demanded will increase. And when the prices are increased, okay, the quantity demanded will be decreased. This is law of demand. According to the law of demand, it is. Then we see demand curve. Demand curve okay. Now, demand curve is all about plotting the same data onto a graph and understanding the relationship between price and demand. Based on the same demand schedule, what we've tried to understand just now, let's do the demand curve, which is giving when the prices are high. Uh, yes, when prices are high, the demand is low. Next, when the prices are lowered, the second one, the demand is the prices are coming down, the demand is increasing from say X1 to X2. So on and so forth. Simply on the demand curve, on the graph it is shown. This is referred as demand curve. The demand schedule, what we've analyzed just now is explained with the help of demand curve and characteristics. If you look at the characteristics or the features of law of demand, firstly, it has got an inverse relationship. It is having inverse relationship between price and quantity. It is said and believed that whenever the price of the any commodity is increasing, the demand will come down. And when the prices are decreasing, the demand will be high. So that way we term the relationship to be an inverse relationship. Price. Price here is independent variable and demand is a dependent variable. Now the law of demand, in this law of demand, price is independent. Demand is dependent on the price. Now, when it is dependent on the dependent variable, or that means it is dependent on the price. Uh, in the law of demand, this particular effect of price is examined, and the effect of how it is affecting the price is analyzed. Now, when the demand is rising, the prices also would rise. And when the demand is falling, the prices also will fall. But here in the law of demand, this occurs, the behavior is a different behavior, where we are terming it to be an inverse relationship. Other things remain same here, means the other things like in the yesterday's class, we discussed about various determinants of demand, the supply, logistics, etc., etc., luxury item, etc. All those remains constant. Then only we call it to be an inverse relationship between price and demand. Otherwise, if all the other things remain, changed, then definitely it doesn't fit in law of demand, because every single small or big factor will have a direct or indirect effect or influence on the either the price or on the demand of a product. So hence, in order to better understand the market and the relationship for a given product, the relationship between price and demand, it is suggested to keep all other things constant. Season, occasion, whatever it might be. Let keep all those things constant and understand for a given product how the relationship is between price and demand. If price is increasing, will there be any change in demand? If the price is decreasing, is there going to be any effect on demand or not? That's how you try to understand the law of demand. Next is income effect. Income effect is here, the fall in the price of a commodity leads to an equivalent increase in the income of the consumer, because here he has to spend less. That means the purchasing power is more. And this, earlier what he was spending to buy some 10 units, 10 eggs, he used to pay higher price. That means rupees 5 per egg, per egg. But now, though the income remains same, here what is happening when the price is differing from 5 rupees to 4 and 2, so on, he's able to buy more. So income effect is nullified here. Okay. Then substitution effect. Substitution effect is wherein in yesterday's class we discussed very elaborately about complementaries and substitute products, where there is an it tends to, yeah, substitute effect is the price of a commodity falls when the consumer tends to substitute the commodity for the other commodity. Like when they want to switch from one brand to another brand, then just because of the price, which have not been become relatively dear, or conversely, when the price of a commodity rises, the commodity will be used in its place, at least to some extent. Therefore, a fall in price of a commodity increases the demand, and rise in the price is reducing the demand. So substitution effect is also not much we going to see here. Someone has messaged here, Anjali. Anything wrong or anything that you want to communicate, please put up the lines properly in the chat box, or you can even unmute yourself and speak up. Okay. Now, moving on to assumptions of the law of demand. Now, what are the various assumptions of the law of demand? There is no change in consumers' taste and preferences. This is what I spent almost a class in order to understand yesterday, the factors influencing in detail, right? So, all those here, in order to understand law of demand, are very imperative. Like when you know those, basically, how are they going to have impact? Then only law of demand can be easily understood. And here it is said, first assumption of law of demand is, that means law of demand is based on the assumption that the taste and preferences would remain unchanged. That means for any given reason, the consumer will have the same taste and preferences. Income is constant. Prices of other goods, substitutes and complementaries, also we assume that all these remains unchanged. There should be no substitute for the given product. This is also our assumption. Practically and logically, it is not going to happen. But in order to understand the law of demand, we assume that there are no substitutes of the for the commodity, and we assume that we are the only one who are selling this particular commodity in the market, a product in the market. The demand for that particular product should be continuous, and consumers should not expect any change in the price of the commodity. These are the basic assumptions of the law of demand. Now look at the rationality of these law of demand. Law of diminishing marginal utility. Now, what is law of diminishing marginal utility? It is simply wherein the curve of the demand curve is sloping downwards. Now, you look at this curve, this is sloping downwards. Understand? So, this is downwards from up to down. So, this indicates the diminishing value. Okay. The demand curve the demand curve slopes downwards to the right. This is because of the law of demand, which is based on law of diminishing marginal utility, which means if any consumer is buying more and more a particular product, the marginal utility of that additional unit will fall. Therefore, the consumer is willing to pay lower prices for additional units. Therefore, here the consumer is willing to pay lower prices, and that is why the demand curve slopes downwards. So, initially, when you start buying a product and when you want to taste a product for the very first time and the initial days of your purchases, first few attempts, you will be very inquisitive and you will spend money on it, and then you will start buying. The more you buy on a continuous basis over a period of time continuously, you happen to ensure that the prices should not change, because you've already tasted, you're comfortable with the product, you don't want any change. But additionally, the kind of continuous purchasing that you are doing will make you, to the additional units that you are using and experiencing that particular product or good or a services, your expectations will come down. Okay, your levels of satisfaction slowly tries to diminishing. So this also is connected to law of diminishing marginal utility, which wherein the demand curve slopes downwards. Okay, principle of equimarginal utility. Now, this is also connected to the demand curve, which is sloping downward. Now, the reason given here as equimarginal utility is the main agenda here is the principle of equimarginal utility is based on the operations. Like the consumer will arrange their purchases in such a way that marginal utility is equal to all his purchases. It is explained here with an example that if it is not equal, they will alter their purchases until their marginal utility is equal. Whether the prices of one commodity falls, there will be buying more and reaching to new equilibrium at which marginal units are equal. So here the focusing point is whatsoever be the price, their purchases, what the consumer is doing, they will keep on buying until they are reaching that level of satisfaction, that is equimarginal utility. Until then, they keep on additionally keep buying your product. Once that equimarginal utility is reached, then they start falling, how much ever be the prices they are ready to spend until then, but later they may not be ready. So that is the rational. Once you're satisfied, probably you may not end up spending so much on the same product, rather you would give a try. That is the rational. Whereas in the assumptions, we have seen that the taste and preferences of the customers will not change, but rationally, logically, there would be a point where the customer, when they are repeatedly or continuously buying, a point comes when they are good enough, satisfied enough. Okay, now they wanted some additional, something else. In given this condition, there could be chances that they may expect the prices to be lowered. Now they won't be ready to pay how much ever is, that is higher the price, high prices, they may not be ready to. The companies, they are expecting, now the consumers will expect from the company that they should lower the prices. All right. Next is different users. The law of demand is operating on account of commodities having different uses. For example, when the prices of tomato is high, it will be used only for cooking purposes. When it is cheaper, it might be used for even making jams, pickles, and are storing, preserving them for a longer period of time. That also you can do. So different utility happens for a given product based on the price of the product. When the prices are lower, you do a number of different varieties. But when the prices are high, you just remain, silent by using only to the extent that it satisfied your daily consumption. Change in taste and preferences, yeah. We've seen this as one of the most important factor to influence the demand for any given product. Rationally, some people are found of, enjoying, like, they may have monotony in order to find good, products, etc. They may be willing to pay high prices also. The second category will be people who would prefer to pay less, and third category would be lower the prices. So definitely there will be, we can't assume that all the consumers will remain constant. The taste and preferences, how long you can keep this constant? There comes a time where the consumer would say enough of this product now, let me try a new one. So that is the rationale of a law of demand, where it says that taste and preferences tends to change. Income effect also same thing. Substitution and psychological effect. These all are, psychologically people would buy more quantity usually when the prices are low, and the demand curve in this case is downward sloping as usual. Substitution also same thing. Now when the prices are rising, it becomes cheaper. Therefore, when the price of rice, suppose if you take the commodity, rice is higher, alternatively you might switch to chapati, maybe three times instead of two times having rice, one time chapati, and the other time you will have rice. If the same rice is going to fall, the price of the rice is going to fall, then you may end up having how much ever you want, two times or three times, etc. So that way, these all are, logically speaking, they do contribute to the demand. So, but when a person is trying to understand the law of demand, all these needs to be remained unchanged. Only then a proper understanding can be created for a product in order to better understand and strategize themselves to introduce a product to the market. Now let's look at the exceptions to the law of demand. What are the exceptions? Exceptions are those limitations or scope within which the demand law of demand exists. For example, here you see the demand curve is sloping upwards from left to right. And in this case, demand curve has a positive slope. Now, when the prices are increasing, you see here, the demand curve is denoted as O and P. And the quantity demanded here is increased from OQ to OQ1. And here P1 to P2. So the reason for this exceptional demand curve is given products. What is given products? Inferior goods are exceptions to law of demand. For example, when the price of maize falls, the poor consumers willing to spend more on superior, any product which is superior than maize. The case that we have discussed just now. If the price of maize increasing, he has to increase the quantity of money spent on it. So otherwise, they might face the starvation. So fall in price of maize is followed by reduction of quantity demanded and vice versa. But here the basic food, like any other food like bajra, barley, grams, etc., can be consumed in bulk by these poor families. So generally fall in one category of given foods might not affect the other. So hence the first explained, this is firstly explained as given product, and therefore it is called as given paradox. So any consumer expecting future prices of the good to increase, he would rather like to buy commodity now than later. So this is also another exception. Suppose if we are if we know that in future the price of the rices are going to increase, then definitely we would stock to some extent possible the rice bags, so that we might not have problem during that those period. Otherwise, we might switch to some other substitutes which are available, like instead of rice, wheat, maize, or any other product. Partially, we might switch. So these are referred as given products. Population and its distribution. So demand for any product depends positively upon the number of consumers. This may have a slight variation with the size of the population. So the spread of consumers over regions, urban, semi-urban, metropolitan, tier 1, tier 3, children, adult, male, female, rich, poor. There are so many categories one has to understand. So that is the that is where the role of marketer plays a significant role, where he happens to analyze the market and apply STP, segmentation, targeting, and positioning. Okay, properly by understanding the population, the geographical location, he tries to segment the properly. And then we have demonstration effect, which is also referred as Veblen effect. There are some goods, okay, which are purchased mainly for their appeal. Like, they are mostly referred as Veblen in America. And this is called as an exception to the law of demand and the demand curve. Um, for example, like diamonds, only richer class and further prestigious, reputation, etc., they do buy. But if the prices of the diamond falls, poor also will start buying. Hence, they will not give the prestige. Therefore, the rich people may stop buying this commodity. So this is how the demonstration effect is explained in as an exception to the law of demand. So when the prices are high, only the rich people would prefer to buy. But when the prices are low, here you see the other category of people also start buying it. So therefore, your rich people may stop buying it. So the demand, um, if you look at generally, you might observe it to be rich people are also buying and the poor people also start buying. So demand is increasing. But no, rich people will stop buying now because the rate of the diamonds are decreasing because of the prestige. They may not buy. So the demand decreases there and increases. So it will substantiate the demand, and hence it is referred as an exceptions to the law of demand. Ignorance. Okay. Ignorance is another exception wherein the commodity is judged by its price, and the consumer think that if the product is superior, even though the price is high, they would buy more at a higher price. So some take it this way for some exclusive products. Like when the prices are high, only they consider it to be the best product, best quality, best results, best product, they call it as. Sometimes it even can be connected to the prestigious. So they don't end up buying when the prices are low. So that way, these kind of people, consumers are accepted from the are in exceptions to the law of demand. Next comes the super speculative effect. Speculations is all about forecasting for a given commodity the future prices, based on which either the demand is created or the demand is reduced based on the effect of on its prices. So thus we say that any increase in price may not be accompanied by a decrease in demand. It might happen, it may not happen, right? So that way the effect can be referred as an exception. Then fear of shortage. Just because a rumor in the market that there is going to be, a fear of shortage, or the gold prices are going to increase because the rupee value is going to decrease, or inflation, other economies are facing inflation, real estate prices, etc. There are so many, ways where people start speculation, and this fear of, speculating that it is going to be in shortage. All these, kind of things will lead to increase in demand, and thereby also increasing sometimes in the prices for those products. Though the prices are high, still you happen to buy as a consumer because you wanted to be at safe and stock as much possible. So that way, law of demand does not apply here. It is an exception. So necessities are other things like rice, vegetables on a daily basis, fruits, millets, rice, all these staple foods that we regularly use. Whatever could be the situation. Sometimes substitution, but sometimes you happen to substitute a given a commodity which on a regular basis you may be using. Like if tomato prices are high, you may end up buying low, but you will buy. If the rice prices are high, you may consume low, as it is discussed. Instead of two times, you will switch to some other thing, and then you will try to buy it, but you are buying it. So necessity is something where you end up buying whatever could be the prices. Maybe not abundantly, not as much as earlier, but to great extent you will have to buy it because it is required. Okay, though it is not going to be available, or say it is going to have the demand, there is going to be a shortage of the product in the market. Supply has been stopped. Like we keep hearing about petrol and onion prices, potatoes, tomatoes, etc. During the season, etc. So that way, there are certain exceptions to the law of demand, which again can be discussed in case of factors which influence the demand as well as exceptions to the demand. Okay. Next, we have approaches to demand. A graphical approach. And graphically, if you see, this is how the demand curve is being shown on the graph, where the price is plotted on the y-axis and the demand is plotted on the x-axis. And the same, schedule, demand schedule, which is given in the earlier pages, are taken here, and they've been plotted, and you can see the curve, the line is coming down. Okay, and this particularly the point where the intersection of x-axis indicates that the quantity of the Graham crackers, as in the case of this example, will be buying, and the graph shows that Jim will buy 3 boxes more than the 2 boxes. The same demand schedule that we have just now discussed in earlier pages. And next we have another approach, which is algebraic approach. Now through algebra, we try to understand the demand curve, and this algebraic expression is wherein the Q, Q is demand, and the 25 it is in the form of an equation where Q is equals to 25 minus 2P. P refers to the price here, and this is how the equation is being formed. And this is always used by the economists in order to understand the relationship of demand and price. And yeah, some examples have been discussed here, which can be, understood in order to better. Anyways, we have problems in the later, which are to be solved. Okay. Next here, you see the change in demand versus change in quantity demanded. Any change in demand versus, that means any change in the demand how it is going to have impact on the quantity which is demanded. Now you see this demand for cake is given here. A's income is 1,000 and A's income when it is 4,000. Now you see when the price is rupees 70, the demand is 0, 60 it is 0, 50 it is 0. But when the price is 40, the demand is 2 kgs per month. And when it is 30, it is increasing to 4 kgs. And when the price is 20, further when it is coming down, it is the demand for the cake is 10 kgs per month. And now you look at when the consumer is having 4,000 salary, suppose his income is 4,000. When the price is 70, he is able to buy 1 kg. When the price is 60, he is buying 2 kgs. So on and so forth. When the price is decreasing to 20, he is able to buy 20 kgs. So this way, if you plot the same, you see contraction and extension. That means when the prices are decreasing, the demand is increasing. And when you are looking at the consumer's income, when the income is more, then he is able to buy more. When his income is 1,000, for price 20, he is able to buy 10 kg only. But when the income is more, he is able to demand double than what he was earlier buying when it is 1,000. That means only 10 kgs is buying, but later when the price is in, his income is increasing, he is able to buy 20 kgs. So the quantity demanded is almost the double. Okay. And the same thing is plotted here on the graph, which shows the contractions and extension. The same thing again is been plotted here with the two different sets of income. One curve is showing income when it is 4,000 and the other curve is showing income when it is 1,000. D1 and D2 are nothing but the demand for the given product. D1 and D2, price and demand are plotted in order to get this. So if you see, the quantity demanded is falling when the price is increasing and the quantity will rise when the price is falling. So this shift, if you see to the left and right, very clearly it is explained what all we discussed till now. Between the relationship, law of demand, the relationship between price and demand, exceptions. The same thing is explained here in the form of a table. Very briefly, you can refer this table for better understanding. Then we have a relationship between demand and revenue. And here the revenue is referred as TR. Okay, total revenue. And average revenue is referred as AR. Marginal revenue is referred as MR. And with the equations of these equations are not much complicated. It is as simple as it is. The total revenue minus the price, you will be able to get the average revenue. Whatever total revenue is, if you divide by the quantity that has been sold, you will be able to get the price. And total revenue is nothing but how much price and how many quantity you are selling, that is, total revenue. So AR is equals to price for a given product into quantity divided by the number of units sold. Okay. Now another revenue concept, schedule is given, price and quantities are given, where the price is decreasing from rupees 10, 9 to 4 and quantity is increasing from 10, 20, 30 to 60 and 70. Now in this case, if you are asked to calculate total revenue is nothing but quantity into price, how much you are selling. Okay. So 10 into 10 is 100, 20 into 9 is 180, 30 into 8 is 240, so on and so forth. Of 4 into 7 is 280. And average revenue is always total revenue into quantity. Now, total revenue is computed. Now, you just have to divide TR divided by quantity. So, 100 divided by 10 is 10. 180 divided by 20 is 9. If you look at this average revenue, they are the same figures as in the case of price. But here in this example, they are, the values are same, but not necessary that for all your AR calculations, they may be same. So don't go into assumption that they will be same and start writing the same prices for AR. It might even differ, or it all depends on the quantity. Okay. Then MR is equals to TR minus TR minus 1. Now you see TR is 100 and N minus 1, that is 180. That is the second price, 180 minus 100 divided by quantity. Okay, that is 10. Maximum, quantity which is purchased is 10. So, a 180 minus 100, so on and so forth. 240 minus 180, 280. The preceding one and the the present one is subtracted from the upcoming one. Then 280 minus 300 gives a minus figure, which is minus. All these are plotted on the graph. Okay, now the first graph shows average revenue, marginal revenue, which is this dotted one. The second graph is showing average revenue and marginal revenue. You see, marginal revenue is reaching the x-axis. Marginal revenue is going down the x-axis, which means it is negative. Yes. The demand curve also, you can see it is 2, right? Negative, na? Minus 2. So hence here also, you can see here also it is going below the x-axis, minus 2 it is. Okay. This is negative value. So with this, chapter is done, unit is done. You have some keywords and short model questions, etc., which you can just focus on. And tomorrow's class will be discussing about elasticity of demand, factors, types of elasticity. Very interesting, but the base. Now, I would, suggest you all to do the working on demand curve and the revenue schedule, demand schedule and revenue. Two tables are given, followed by certain graphs are there. You do practice this for your better understanding, and this might help you to further understand the subject more easily, because fundamentally, if you don't understand the relationship between AR, MR, TR, etc., you may not be in a position to understand the future classes. So it is suggested to you all that demand schedule and the revenue schedule, what is discussed today, along with the graph, just in a half an hour, do practice it, try to understand, and we will take up elasticity of demand in next tomorrow's class. So with this, I stop my class. If any queries, I'm open for it. If you have any doubts or queries, please raise up your doubts, or else you can leave for your next class. Any queries, please put up in the chat box, or you can use your you can unmute and also speak up. Seems to be no. All right. So we'll take off and see you again in the next session tomorrow. Assignment, you are given a list of questions, right? You need to do it on your own and submit to the university. Assignments will not be discussed in the class, but the concepts that are discussed in the classes will help you to do this assignments. Assignments are something which is expected to be uh, solved by the students. All right, I hope that is clear. Uma Rani, am I right? Yeah. Okay, dear. All the best. Keep doing. Okay. We'll take off.